Hello, beautiful beings of light. We're switching it up. We're doing something new on the channel, and honestly, this is something that's been a long time coming. I have wanted to have spiritual leaders and woke people and beautiful beings that are on the same frequency as me on this channel for a long time now. And guess what? We are on some form of quarantine right now, currently, and we're living in a very small space together, and we decided that we need to be creating. We need to be providing the world with our truth, our voice, our messages, any of the inspiration that's coming through us, especially related to raising each other's spirits and really tuning into the real reason that all of this is happening. To not keep it surface level, to not keep it as, oh, there's this epidemic that's going on, to really go deeper than that. Okay, so what is the invitation behind that? Do you have anything that comes up to your heart? This is Mariola, by the way. I want her to...
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me, Queen of the Stars. Yeah, I have a very heartfelt output on this, actually, and you know, this is I feel like this is a very specific time when the planet is cleansing, and just jumping right at it. First of all, we're in a time where all the light workers are uniting, whether it is through physical contact or non-physical contact. We are on this space where we are called to slow down and to connect and to go within and realize that we can do so much for our beings while we are in silence or seclusion per se, because just, you know, tapping into all the powers, all the curiosity, you know, like so many people are going into like their hidden talents and they're, you know, showcasing them, and this is a beautiful opportunity for us to do this. And you know, this has been coming for me for a very long time, but as I have spoken to you before, it was that there was never this space. I never created the space for this to happen. And now that this unification is happening, then I see myself as, all right, this is the message that we can collectively and support, like we have each other's support to give to the world, you know? So yeah, this is, it's humbling and it's beautiful. You know, like I think that we're vibrating the same frequency of knowing and understanding that there's more positive to this than negative. And this is the time when, you know, finally, we've known each other for a very long time. And
from another lifetime in this life,
right,
and other lifetimes before this. Yeah.
Right.
That's.
And so, you know, like the fact that, you know, just to explain a little bit, this beautiful being and I were supposed to separate a few days ago, and actually a couple of times that we were supposed to separate. And
we're in Peru right now.
Yeah, we're in Cusco. We're in Cusco, and we've been traveling from the Sacred Valley to Cusco City and San Blas. And we recently went to the island of Amantani in Puno, which is right alongside of Lake Titicaca. And that was a beautiful journey that we did. We went to second chakra of the planet, the sacral so much creation, so much cleansing. You know, Adi and I did a beautiful circle, a sacred feminine circle, in Lamai in the Sacred Valley. And, you know, this work and this vibration and this frequency that we've created with one another has brought us to be here on this space, I feel.
In quarantine.
In quarantine. You know, even if we wanted to escape from each other, which has not been the case, we are.
This is something I'd like to actually expand upon, because there are no mistakes in the universe.
Absolutely.
There are no coincidences in your life. Think of this moment in time as this, I guess, this like microscope on your life, and you're able to actually really take a look at who is in your life, who is in your space during this restricted time where we can't leave and we can't go and interact and create with other people. So who is in your space right now? Who divinely is in your space that you are going to spend the next foreseeable time? Because right now we're on this 2-week, 15 days thing, but we don't know what's going to happen. So really taking note of
and questioning,
of
right?
that.
Questioning the why is this person in my space? How, you know, like, and there's only two routes, I feel, at this point, which can be, am I going to make the best out of it, or am I going to be petty, or, you know, like surface things? And are those things that are going to surface help us through our process? You know, we've run into situations when, you know, certain things get stirred up, but sometimes it's like it pushes us to set boundaries also, you know. This is my space, I love me, and I need respect and love for this, because maybe, you know, family sometimes is challenging, our closest beings might be challenging, partners, you know.
Siblings.
And so really, you know, tapping into that universal love, I think, that is it's every being's essence of tolerating each other and learning, but at the same time learning how to set our healthy boundaries, you know, of respect, self-love, which means and will project onto love for others as well, you know, to maintain peace, you know, because every being is a universe, you know. We all have our thoughts and our feelings and emotions, and I think that this is teaching us so much of how to coexist with one another.
I just got the vision of how many of us are used to running away from situations and people when things get difficult, right? How do we deal with our differences and our needs? And like you said, how do we set our boundaries in this time when there's nowhere to run away to?
Right.
Like, I could run out of this small home that we're living in right now, but the only place I can go is the rooftop.
That's true.
You know, if I go out onto the street here in Cusco, they're gonna ask me for my paperwork and possibly, you know, be a little bit intense. For me right now, I haven't left this home since we arrived, which was 4 days ago.
Yeah, and I did encounter some sort of hostility that has been created by us collectively, regrettably.
Hostility based in fear.
Fear, right, that's right.
Stress.
And I feel, you know, I felt the pain of this police officer. I felt his wanting to assert his authority and power, and, you know, he took it up on a person that had nothing to do with it, that was just going to buy groceries. But because of like some of us being irresponsible and You know, like for them, it's all about obedience, and it may not necessarily be the route, because you know we're rebels at heart, but
we're rebels and yet we're following all the rules.
right, because we
right
know
now.
Because we know it is what's right at this moment.
Yeah.
If something deep inside of us were to be, you know, like our waters were all over, then we might be acting differently. But right now we know that it's the best for the collective to follow certain rules, and you know, but yeah, like what I think right now is, yeah.
But also to stand up for yourself.
To stand up for yourself,
right. Explain what happened.
Yeah, so what happened is that this man told me that I was being detained, and I know my rights, and I know that as a citizen with my full freedom, you know, there's very specific things that have been stipulated, and then up until this point, it's like you can go ahead and buy groceries for yourself, and maybe go to a pharmacy. There's very specific places that you can go to without a permit. And so I know my rights, and this person's telling me that I'm being detained, and I'm like, wait a minute, and raising his voice.
I was gonna say he was yelling.
He was yelling, and for me at that point, I, you know, like the lioness came out, and I'm like, you know, I am following, I am soft, I am very feminine and beautiful and inside, but when you're coming directly to attack, that's when I put a stop to it. So I told them, I'm like, don't you dare to yell at me. I know my rights, and I know how to act in this moment. You know, I'm not doing anything
You're
wrong.
doing everything within your rights.
Correct, yeah. And so, you know, but it made me feel the empathy. I can't help but, like, you know, be empathetic, and the fact that these people are working night and day, and the fact that, you know, they're away from their loved ones, and that there are people that not necessarily act right, and that they are being irresponsible. So yes, even though I was strong, I did tell them that I do understand your work, and I do understand what you're going through, but at the same time, respect me. So this brings me to a place where I'm like, we went to share our resources, right? We went to a Mandani, and we were sharing everything that we had worked on for a very long time, and we were truly sharing. And I feel that now there's two bands almost. Don't you see, like, that it's like, yeah. I either share or I either just care for myself, and you know, like, especially where we're from, we're in the States, and you know, like, people, just because I have the resources, which we saw the Monica viral, we literally heard that.
We had a very interesting Titanic moment, and you guys don't know my love for Titanic yet, but you will one day. So there's a scene in Titanic where the rich guy is trying to buy his way on one of the lifeboats to be saved. And, you know, there's no lifeboats, they're all running out, and he's paying the guy all his money, all the cash he has. So he's like, get me on a boat, when they're only taking the women and children. So we really, in the past couple days, like, we've been having these little moments where it feels like we're living a movie.
It really
And we had that moment from Titanic because, I'm sorry, but this Spanish guy from Spain here in Peru was getting on a bus with us, and he joined our group, and he was trying to find his way out of this town that we were in, which was Juliaca, right?
Yeah.
And we were trying to get back to Cusco, which is 7 hours away. And he said, money can buy everything. He was trying to not only cut the line to get himself on a bus out of there ASAP, but the way he said it, with the certainty that he was just like raising himself to such a level of like, I don't care about these local Peruvians, like, I'm gonna get myself on a fucking bus because I have money. Yeah. And I literally wanted to throw up in my mouth.
Yeah, that was.
That's a reality. That's a reality that these situations are gonna bring the ugly part. Like you said, a lot of stuff's gonna come to the surface.
Yeah.
They're gonna bring the ugly parts of us to the surface. Now, I'm not saying that this person is a bad person. Did he act poorly? Yes. Did he show a part of his true colors of what he really thinks about people here in Peru, where he's choosing to live for a time? Like, yes.
Yeah, it also, to me, it showed a lot of how many masks do we put on, you know? How, you know, including myself, like how many times are we like, oh, we're all good because this person is doing social work here, you know? And but at the same time, it's like, what do you really think of the people that you're doing social work with, you know? Then that level of like superiority or whatever it is that might be in your head, oh, I'm coming to help these poor ones, you know? And it made me very sad to see that reality, because there's a lot to heal on this earth. There's a lot to, you know, like when we talk about like no frontiers, no borders, no race, you know, melatonin, that is just a component.
I don't see color.
You know, I don't see color, right? And so many, you know, so many of us have put ourselves, but when the reality hits is when the true colors show.
And at the same time, like, I will say that whether or not that's like his day-to-day persona, we are full of programs. We are full of these old stories that are stored in our body, in our DNA. They come out at the times that they, I guess, need to come out or need to surface. And honestly, in that moment, like, I thought about saying something to him, and then at the same time, I'm just like, I think I'm just supposed to observe. I think I'm just supposed to, like, take note, kind of like from like a director's perspective of just like observing all the different aspects that a situation like this is gonna bring out,
and it also
humanity.
Makes us, I mean, it made me question myself, because if he were to buy the tickets for all of us, would I jump on that bus?
Right.
You know? And that is not only like, you know, you point, but you gotta look at yourself as well. And the reality is that I probably would have jumped on that bus. And it made me think of, you know, it brought up so much that, you know, like, and those are the moments that it's like we can't fully judge this person if you're not to join, you know, because yes, we do have the resources to do this, but at the same time, it made me sad. It made me very sad because, you know, we've been programmed to separate so much that it truly felt, and I was like, I looked at him as well, but then I saw that shadow that creeped.
Or the reflection of us in him, perhaps.
Right, and so, you know, maybe, and this is how I want to look at it, is that we were so disgusted by that because we're working hard on not acting like that. Because that might have been an old program that came with us, and we have to understand that now we don't no longer operate from that. But the reality of it is that I would have joined and gone and skipped the ones that can't. And so, you know, at this point, it's like, not only it's accepting our shadows, it's our accepting, you know, and shining light upon that. And yeah, we acted right because we decided to shift that and find a different solution. We didn't fully co-sign that, and we shifted it, and we paid a lot more than what is the normal cost, which brings us to our next topic. The driver that brought us here, so we could be safe in our own space for 15 days. Otherwise, we would have been at God knows where. God knows where, yeah. So it did feel very cinematic. It did feel like one of those movies where, you know, the driver didn't want to leave. He kept on the price was going up and up and up and up. And I'm like, I don't understand what.
We were all on the bus already, and the price kept changing.
Right.
And we're like, okay, can we leave now with 12, 15 people?
Right.
And it was like, no, we have to get to 18 or 20 or.
And it seriously felt like capitalism, like at its max, you know. It was like, why is this the price fluctuating so much? You know?
He was on the phone talking to like his boss, perhaps, and was like, can I do it for this price? And there was just an element of like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get mine for it.
Right.
And which I think what you're trying to say is like, these are dire times where we're gonna be asked to throw out some of those programs that are operating right now, which is very based on like financial gain over doing the right thing.
And this, it's, you know, like adding up to what you're saying is that I appealed to this man's humanity. He was discussing with 3 of our acquaintances, and
I was just watching it all too, because I just didn't know what was gonna happen. And there was a moment where I was like, we're all getting off this bus, and there's still not gonna be a solution or movement of us making our way home.
And that's the thing, it was like the clock was ticking. The clock was ticking for us, and it was because there was a curfew and no one was to enter or cross over from one state to another department here. In Peru, you say that departamentos, which are basically one city to another, they were going to close all the borders, and we needed to leave. And you know, there was full trust. I'm not. You know, I'm gonna add this because I had full trust that we were gonna be okay.
I did too.
Yeah, and that's why I think that we kept calm. But for sure, it was that, you know, after observing for a period of, I don't know, 10 minutes of them going back and forth.
It was like 25.
It was about, right? It felt like forever. But, you know, I was just watching and I'm like, if I don't say something, then this is not gonna go anywhere. And so I went up to him and I'm like, brother, listen, these are the times that we're supposed to be together, uniting. Like, where's your heart? What are you feeling at this moment? Why do you feel the necessity of taking advantage of all these beings, you know? Maybe some of us can afford it, but maybe some of us can't, you know? And so he got very defensive, and I think because I triggered something in him. I think because he got in touch with a little bit of that humanity. But that's the thing, it's like, we have so many beings on this earth that live on that program of scarcity and lack, that
not only that, I feel like he felt that he was answering for his company or his boss, and so in that moment of like breaking a rule of like the company, because it was a private van, and he was checking in with his authorities as opposed to just
checking in with the
in
human,
that moment just being like, what is the right thing for me to do as a driver with an empty van while all these people are running around the city trying to get home, trying to get safe. And he was like, crisis of conscience.
Oh.
That's what I saw. Was like should I call back or should I? He didn't know what
He
to
didn't know
do.
what to do. And I think that brings me to the thought of like us being so malleable, you know, we're malleable. Like at some point it's like somebody tells you what to do. Always. There's always somebody telling you what to do. There's always rules for everything.
I love breaking the rules.
Right. But breaking the rules consciously. You know, when I was in art school, I can't remember who it was or whether it was a quote from a famous artist or something, but they told me that you must know the rules to be able to break them.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh
And
yeah, I love that.
that's something that I've always applied in my life and in art and on creations that I've made. Because here's the thing. If you're just a rebel for being a rebel, then your cause is all over the place. Then you might be feeding forces to things that don't truly go with your essence, you know? But if you know the root of the problem, if you know, like nobody's telling you to be the most literate person ever, but just study or find out what is it that's moving you, you know, and then you can break it. Yeah, because you know the system, so you can go around it and then get your freedom, because that's the thing. We're under so many systems and so many programs that we're slaves. And I was speaking with somebody this morning actually, where I posted this thing about how about hackers like hacking the system and finally getting rid of all of our student loans, right?
Yeah.
And that's why one of my girls was like, fuck yeah. And she was like, you know, sending me the little claps and stuff. But that's the thing. It's like, there's so many different forms of modern slavery, you know? The bank system. Oh, here's your education, but be in debt forever.
The rest of your life.
The rest of your life. And that way, you can't escape me, because
here's your house.
Here's your house.
But be in debt for the rest of your life, and any
Right.
moment you can't make a payment, we kick you out of it if you have nothing.
Exactly. And that, you know, like in so many ways. Or just join this force and say everything that I tell you without questioning it. You know, the dogmas, and these dogmas exist in every way. And so, you know, it's not like, you know, let's create a revolution no, it's simply like inform yourself, learn what resonates with you, what's your truth, you know, find your own balance, you know, like these are things that I tell myself every day. And like we're trying really, really hard on this path, because and also like have a prism in front of you when you're looking at things, you know, look at the world through like the lens of a diamond. You know, there's so many sides in everywhere that we are. And I feel like so many times, because I am positioned at this place right now, is that the camera looks at me from here, but the camera is looking at you in a completely different way. So yeah, that brings me back to what we were talking about this morning, which was, we were actually talking about yoga and how flexibility is so important. And I would tell Annie that I used to be the least flexible person. And I realized that not only applied to my physical body, but it was something that happened in my mind and on my everyday and with my partner, you know, there were so many things that it's incredible how like one physical practice, you know, I had an incredible teacher that, you know, his Dharma talk would really resonate and go deep within me. But, you know, just thinking that I was not flexible and thinking that I couldn't do things, and all these like restrictions that I put on myself back then, like, and throughout my whole life, really, for up until the moment when, and I would literally cry on my mat once I would be able to achieve a pose, because I saw what it represented, like all of the, like everything I had to do.
Transformation.
Right.
Growth.
Exactly.
Expansion.
And the expansion of my body was the result of the expansion of my mind. That I could do it, but it was also discipline, and it was also my daily practice, and how I actually honored myself and dedicated the time for myself, for my soul, for my body. You know, because a lot of times we tend to just focus on one area too, you know. Oh, if my spirit is this way, or if my mind is this way, you know. And
not only that, but we're realizing, I think, in this, sorry to interrupt you, but in this time when we're gonna have a lot of free time, a lot of time in our home, a lot of solo time perhaps, or just, I would say extra time, because you're not commuting, you're not, you know, running to your job, you have more hours in the day to yourself. A lot of people aren't working at all.
right.
You are gonna have the reflection to be like, hey, what is it in my life that actually needs attention? What is it that actually needs to expand in me? What is it that actually needs, where can I grow?
Right. Yeah.
Where can I grow? We're being invited to sit with ourselves, to sit with our journals, to sit with our partners or our friends, and have beautiful conversations with each other where hopefully something is clicking, something is, you know, sparking, like, wait a minute, we're like you were talking about the diamond earlier, we could look at this situation through so many different angles, but I think as long as we understand that everything is in perfect order, we can get through anything.
Right.
And we can take, not only get through it, but we could actually ride this wave.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and not be crashed by it. We're actually on top of the wave, riding it to wherever it's going to take us, to this new frequency. And we haven't touched upon this yet.
Collective, right.
But this is what is being asked of us right now. We're being asked to collectively rise with the planet, who is also rising. Gaia is her own being. Pachamama, this planet, is her own being. And if you haven't been tapping into the good news stories right now about how she is breathing, how she is healing, how her waters are clearer because we're not contaminating her with as much trucks and cars and planes and boats and all of these things. This is a pause. I'm going to refer to this virus from now on as the sacred pause. It came to me yesterday. It is the sacred pause that we've been praying for as light workers and conscious beings.
I love that you say that, because I refer to it as the activation of our crown, because that's what corona means, you know. And it is the activation basically of our selves, you know, allowing the divinity of the cosmos and the universe to enter us, to be able to balance us in all sorts of forms. Because as a collective, if we actually do focus on the good news, as Ari was saying, which is like gorgeous, you know.
Dolphins in the canals of Venice in Italy, because there's no boats and there's no tourists and the water is clearer than it's been in 100 years or something.
Yeah, we're not
like
polluting. Right now, we're really not creating any pollution. I mean, we're creating garbage probably a lot, but you know, like, let's focus on the good and truly see that this shift is what Mother Earth needed. This shift is what we
And we, as a part of her, we needed it too, and we asked for it. That's why I said it's our answered prayer, because we've been asking for this too.
And, you know, like having that level of consciousness that we realize that this is a positive, and focusing on that and learning that, you know, this is not a bad thing as much as it is being told to us that it is a bad thing.
And I don't want to discredit the people that are, you know, suffering or losing their lives. I
100%
want to honor them. I want to
with you.
recognize that there are people that are being affected very personally by this right now, with loss of life.
And sending all the light to their loved ones,
their families,
and their families, and yeah, whatsoever is, you know, our intention. We honor every being that has suffered from this pandemia. It's just, it's been a terrible sacrifice that some humans have undergone, but
these are contracts that we make before we come here. We actually consciously choose whether or not we're going to be part of, you know, a disaster, like a natural disaster, or, you know, we choose when we die actually before we come here.
And this brings me to, you know, you said natural disasters, and I feel that this has been a way of the universe showing us that how indifferent we've been to every being, to any disaster that has previously happened. And those were ways of, you know, our earth saying, please help.
Take
you know, it was
notice.
crying, take notice, help me. You know, it's our mother, and we kept on hurting her. And we were so indifferent because it did not touch us,
The majority
per
of
se,
us.
right?
Yeah. It's interesting when you're not affected,
By
right? If you're on the other side of the world, you're not affected. You go on your daily, you know, your daily tasks, your normal life. This is something that is affecting the entire world.
And how long
That's
did we
not
actually
an accident.
care, right?
That's not an accident.
Right, exactly. It was like, okay, what is needed now? What is needed? Because when you know, like an earthquake happens, or we might care for what, 5-10 days,
Something like that, yeah.
and then it's gone, and then it's truly gone. And where is that empathy? You know, and like now that all the governments have decided to close and keep us inside and truly say, like, listen, this concerns you as well, then is that we can finally see how this is a worldwide
We're
thing.
connected.
That
We're
are
all connected.
And this is something that, you know, I always use, and I love saying it, that is, we are to this universe what one of our cells is to our whole body. You know, there's trillions of cells in our body, and there's billions of beings on this earth. And we must realize that oneness is what it's just everything. And that if you're hurting, I'm hurting. If you're healing, I'm healing.
If you're lonely, I'm here
Right.
to listen, to lift your spirits perhaps, to co-create with you, to laugh with you, to dance with you, to exchange stories. This is just a really beautiful reset. It's a reset if you want to look at it that way. And we're not obligating you to look at this situation from any other lens than your own, but we are inviting you to check in with your heart and see if anything that we've said has resonated. Because when it resonates, you just know. That's right, that's true for me. And honestly, I think we're gonna probably make a few more videos while we're in this space, and while there's all this going on, and while we're receiving a lot of really beautiful information and, you know, energy right now.
And it's, you know, just to tag along and you know, finalize that, definitely we're gonna have a few more, because, you know, there's been a lot of new information that has gotten to both of us together, which has been beautiful. And so, you know, the divine order, the divine timing,
Divine surrender.
and surrender,
Divine
right?
trust.
And that, you know, this level of oneness and this new outlook on oneness is, I think, is what is, at least as light workers, are trying to work for the collective consciousness, you know. The fact that we are able to create anything and that we can imagine, and that, you know, there's a very specific process of need and want and you know, like, think, and once it's a thought, it can be an action, and once that's an action, it's a reality. And so, you know, I think that for now we've covered these spaces, but definitely there's a lot more to expand upon, and that's going to be coming very soon.
We want to leave you with a message from Ascended Master Saint Germain. I know some of you are aware of who he is, and for those of you that aren't, we're just gonna tune in right now and see what message is for the collective, what wants to be shared.
All right, and this is it. It says, do not ever admit for 1 second that your application can fail. It cannot do it. Today, I want to charge into your world the sure, certain, definite conviction and confidence that when you apply these great laws of your mighty I Am presence, there is no such thing as failure possible. It cannot be. Then you will find, as in one thing after another, you gain the victory. Shortly, everything goes down, which has limited you, and you stand forth a being of light and freedom, even if the physical world of mankind, even in the physical world of mankind. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty appropriate. Like, there's no failure when we come together and we recognize that we all are the one. I am. We are all part of this universe. We are all beings of light, multi-dimensional beings of light. And I always start my videos by welcoming you beings of light, because that's what we are. The more we get back to that, the more we remember and we see each other as that, the more we're creating, we're vibrating in a way that there's no failing. We're not gonna fail the planet. We're not gonna fail each other. We're not gonna obliterate each other. Like, to be honest, for a long time I've been, you know, an advocate that the system needs to crumble in order for something new to be reborn, but I've never had the vision that Earth is going to destroy itself and that we're going to destroy the Earth. Right. And I know there are people that believe that, and that's their truth and they spew that, but I 100,000,000% see it the other way. Together we are victorious.
Yeah.
We transform and rise.
And just to add up to what I just read, it is that he talks about freedom and victory. And this freedom is really just freeing ourselves from any program, from any type of self-limitation that we might have created upon ourselves. And we're starting to realize that, and we're starting to see that that is what freedom is. Freedom is really liberating yourself from anything that made you not believe in you and in the collective and in the oneness. And once we apply that level of caring that for one another and the collective well-being, is that we will truly free ourselves from anything that we might have carried before. So with that I end, and I thank you so much for this space, and I leave the word to you fully, sister. Thank you so much for having me on this beautiful virtual space and physical. Thank you for your being, for your soul, and for spreading consciousness.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for vibing with me. Honestly, I'm really happy to be quarantined with you.
Same.
And there's gonna be a lot more that's gonna come through us. The universe has really showed me that I'm exactly where I need to be. We are always exactly where we need to be, and to trust that this sacred pause is our answered prayer. Take it to heart that right now you are being freed. You are being freed. You are being invited to, I guess, to see what freedom is for you. As much as we are, I don't know, like locked down, some of our freedoms are in place right now. Dig a little deeper, because freedom is here. Freedom is here. I really truly believe that is what is one of the outcomes that is gonna reveal itself from all of this. So until the next video, sending you much love from Cusco to your heart, but most importantly to your crown.